What's going on, my friends? Pagar Gaming here, and after about 3 years, actually a little over 3 years, I am finally breaking the silence on ROBLOX Cataclysm, which, as you guys all know, has been canceled. The announcement video was actually made on March 28th, 2017, about 3 months after I published Part 1. And what this video is basically just finally releasing just the footage that was made for part 2, or rather just what the rest of the movie was going to be, because it was either going to be 2 or 3 parts depending on like how long it ended up being, because I kind of wanted to chop it up enough to keep it consistent. But since it's canceled, you guys are basically just going to get to see what was actually made, mainly just what was put together. There's plenty more footage, I'm sure, elsewhere. I just kind of don't want to really dig through my computer to find all of it, and you guys probably won't find it that interesting, when most of it, just like I said, isn't edited or anything. So without further ado, let's get into this. So first up, we have this little scene taken aboard the helicopter that just rescued Matt and John from Nightfall. And I did actually have my voice lines recorded for this scene, at least for the most part. They weren't the final voice recordings, but they were just kind of like stand-ins for what it was going to be. And I never got Matt's voice lines for this. I actually didn't pass on the script for the rest of the movie to him just yet, mainly because the script at the time was still unfinished for the most part. So I just pretty much didn't send him the script yet, so his voice lines were never made. But basically in this scene, it was mainly just like an exchange of how Matt just kind of is skeptical about the whole situation, and how he doesn't believe that John didn't somehow see this coming. And then, basically, after that point, the pilots tell them that they're approaching the coastline in Virginia, and the scene ends there as they're approaching the city of Norfolk. Now, this next little clip is a little destruction sequence of Norfolk. So, this scene didn't really get made that much, other than like mostly some destruction sequences in Roblox Studio, but other than that, I never got around to recording much of anything else, and obviously there were no voice lines for this scene. But basically it was just going to be another earthquake escape thing, except this time they would get on a plane afterward. But I was really happy with how this little sequence played out, mainly with how the sound effects, you guys might recognize the sound effects from the movie 2012, which is actually where it's ripped from. But I'm actually really happy with how well the sound effects lined up with what was going on in the shot, even though there wasn't a whole lot going on. And I had a couple more like building destruction sequences recorded, but I'm not able to find them, and I'm not gonna dig around for them. So yeah. In this little clip here of the airplane landing, it was mostly just like a test, just to see how well I could pull off a little stop motion sequence as far as like an airplane landing. And that was actually going to end up in the film once I put it together, and how satisfied I was with it. And that was actually going to be the plane that they escaped Norfolk on, and this is where they arrive in New York City. And then of course here I've got some Brooklyn Bridge destruction sequences. This is going to be a big part of the New York destruction scene. And this first one here is the edited version of the bridge collapse. It wasn't going to be the final sequence, I don't think. I wanted to add a couple more little clips to kind of fill in a few gaps. But basically, this scene was going to be of Matt, who had gotten injured in Norfolk, and he was going to be accompanying a police officer who had picked him up from the hospital as a result of citywide evacuations. And they just happen to be on the Brooklyn Bridge as the earthquake hits and it collapses. And this scene is just like an alternate version of the collapse, obviously unedited. And I will say, actually making this happen in studio was probably the hardest scene to film, just because I had to get every little thing perfect. I had to make every little piece so it would fall apart correctly, and I had to also place invisible blocks underneath certain spans of the bridge so it would look like like it wouldn't completely collapse, but it would kind of like hang over. And but I was happy with the final result. And then we got the little breaking news segment that shows the earthquake being reported to have hit New York. Wasn't really anything special, just kind of threw it together, but this was going to be in the final product, obviously with voice lines from Protege. At least I think it was going to be Protege. It might have been someone else who's going to voice a different news reporter, but anyway, there's also a shortened version of the full clip just because it's actually like, I want to say, a minute long total. And it also makes use of the storm alert theme from the Weather Channel, in case you guys recognize it. So this next clip here, I actually did not make at all. This was entirely ST477's work. And this scene is basically just of a news reporter in Times Square reporting after the earthquake, right as the tsunami, or the mega tsunami, starts flooding into the city. This is one of two clips that he actually made for the film. The other one was of some astronauts watching from the space station as the tsunami begins to form in the ocean. And I do not have that clip, but you can find it over on his channel. And his channel is just ST477. But this scene of the tsunami in Times Square was unscripted, which is why there's no voice lines. But I was going to write it into the script eventually. I just never got around to it, unfortunately, for obvious reasons. But yeah, this is a scene that he made entirely by himself. And last but definitely not least, for the unreleased footage, is this sequence of clips of the tsunami coming into New York, the scenes that I made entirely out of stop motion. And they were unfinished, especially the airplane one, mainly because you can kind of see the ROBLOX Studio model movement thing. So I was going to go back and redo that entirely, but that was just sort of an idea of what it would look like. But for the most part, the rest of those clips showing the city getting flooded were going to be the final product, maybe with a few fixes here and there. But otherwise, it wasn't really much of anything that I got into. And there you guys have it. That concludes all of the unreleased, edited footage of what was going to be the remainder of ROBLOX Cataclysm. Now, me releasing this video does not mean anything. It does not mean I'm going to go back and try to finish the movie. It's not happening. Part 2 is canceled. The film is canceled. And pretty much every other movie that I was going to make after that is canceled. I haven't touched Roblox in over a year. I don't really plan on going back. As appealing as it looks at times. But nowadays I work a full-time job. So it's just not plausible for me to go back and, continue what I started, as disappointing as that is, because I was really, really excited to make this movie. And while it was fun to make, it was also, excuse my language, a huge pain in the ass. And I just felt it was better to just get it off my shoulders and cancel it, which I'm unfortunately notorious for as far as Roblox films go. But I will ask of you guys, please, please stop asking for part 2. It's just not going to happen. And the way I left off part 1, I feel like you can leave it open for your own interpretation as to what will happen next. And maybe at some point I'll make a separate video of the script itself, what actually was made of the script, so you guys can see a little bit more about what was going to happen. But until then, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. So leave a like if you guys did, subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you guys later.